Hi there, this video is aimed at educators looking to improve or conduct online voice lessons. Like many of you, I've been teaching online since March, and it kind of looks like I might be on and off with online teaching until at least there's a vaccine. So hopefully this video can be informative, help you, give you some tips to improve voice lessons online, especially in a group setting. This video is focusing on group singing lessons, which a lot of music educators are having trouble with right now. And I'm going to share my experiences and other things that I found useful or helpful as you conduct a group singing lesson. I'm going to begin with starting with things that you need to consider when you're doing a group singing lesson online. Number one, consider how many people are going to be in your group class. Now, you may not know this right now, but it's good to go into a sort of approximate as you teach or get people to sign up for your lessons. Do you have a maximum of how many people that you're going to work with? Is this a choir that you're working with? Make sure that you really have an understanding before you go into group lessons on how many people you are catering to. For example, over the summer, I was teaching at a musical theatre online summer camp for children. I was catering to small children, and before we even began, I had a rough idea about how many kids I would have. I was aiming for about 5 to 15, which at least gives me a little bit of a framework to work with how I'm going to conduct my lesson. 2, consider the age group that you're dealing with. Over the summer, I was dealing with very young children, grade 2 to 4, which has a very different list of needs to an adult class or even a teenage class. Be really clear on who you're catering to, the age limits. Maybe you're catering to anyone who wants to sign up, but really make sure that before you start your group lessons that you are clear to yourself before you're planning on the ages that you are catering to. Really think about the length of your class. Now, when I was doing my summer camp, I was on Zoom for 3 hours with my group. However, the music class I was conducting was only roughly 45 minutes. I really thought that I wouldn't be able to engage children that were that little for that length of time, but I actually could, and it can be done. So really have a great idea, or at least an approximate, of how long you're going to conduct the lesson. If you are aiming for an hour and you're dealing with children, you should probably have some games and other activities backed up in case the singing lesson goes too quickly or they're just not feeling it for the day. Make sure you have backups to fill in the hour or the however long you want to go for, so you aren't just staring at the screen and you're not sure what to do. If you are going to go over that hour limit, make sure that you're including a break. It is a long time for people at any age group to just stare at a screen, even if they're engaged. If you're going over an hour, include a 5-minute break, a stretch, anything like that. The next thing to think about is how long are you going to run these voice lessons and these group voice lessons? Are you just doing a week of intensive workshopping? Are you doing it for an entire term or semester, and weekly, 3 times a week? Whatever. Make sure you really map that down on a piece of paper or in your calendar so you can really plan repertoire, exercises, videos, whatever you need to do to get ready, so you have an idea, so then you can set your goals for that period of time. Moving on to goals. What is your goal that you want to achieve from this lesson? Is it just for fun, which is great? But even if people are doing things for fun, they want to come out learning something with some sort of achievement or some sort of improvement in their singing. Really plan out what the goal is in this period of time that you've chosen. You want to think about the resources that you have available to run your group lessons. I assume you'd be running through a laptop or a computer, at worst an iPad. You want to make sure that you think about what instrument you're really going to use in class to lead your group. Now, not everyone plays an instrument, which is very challenging if you are a music teacher and you don't have something to guide you with. Do you have your piano? That is my choice. I have a piano. I purchased a Privia, I want to say 1800 Casio Privia. It's pretty inexpensive and it's a great piano. Do you use guitar? I met a music teacher recently who guides with ukulele, which seems random and difficult, but really works for her. Great. At worst, you could probably use an iPad app with the piano to play the notes. So really consider how you're going to guide your group lesson. Also make sure that you've considered backing tracks for your group lesson. How are you going to go do that? For my summer camp that I was doing edited songs because the kids were so little. I decided that the full song might be too much. So instead of doing one long song, we did 2 songs that were at least a minute. I got the music recorded by an accompanist, paid that person to make piano, introduction, outro, and little snippets, so it sounded very official for them. Or you could use a backing track off the internet. Make sure that you're purchasing that if you are using that as well, or guiding students to use a backing track online. You will have to think about what platform you're going to use. Now, I teach young students and they tend to like Google Meet because the school I'm at, they all use Google Meet. But Zoom for music lessons is much easier to use. You do have to get used to the settings. There's certain settings that you need to select in order to make sure that the voice doesn't cut out or the instrument doesn't cut out as you're singing or performing. You would have to look into that. I highly suggest Zoom because of its features, but some children, if you're dealing with kids, struggle with Zoom. They'd have to have an adult help them with that. But Google Meet works, FaceTime's really good. There's lots of different options. At worst, Skype, which I've never used, but know that's around. There's lots of different options out there for what platform you want to use. You also want to consider how you're going to get paid. Now, I'm assuming that you are not doing these music lessons for free. Unless you are doing it to raise funds for an organization. I have seen people online on Instagram doing that. But at the end of the day, even if you're getting a donation, you need to think about how you will receive that donation or pay. I live in America, so we use Venmo and we also have the option of PayPal. Make sure that you know in your region how you're digitally going to be receiving money. You will not be getting an envelope in the mail full of cash. So really think ahead, think about how you're going to invoice people for the group lesson so that when they sign up for the lesson, that's already in place. They are all the things that you need to think about when conducting a music singing group class. I will share now my experiences teaching online with a summer camp, which was, I did 2 weeks, but each week was a separate program, allowing children to sign up or for both weeks or for 1 week. When I was thinking about how to do that, at first I felt very, very nervous. I was worried that we wouldn't be able to sing together at all, but I did definitely get around that. I was very fortunate that I didn't have to do any of the admin for my group. That was already pre-organized. But if you are doing the admin, make sure everyone is very clear what link they're using to enter the program. You want to make sure they have their resources before they come to class. And I say that because especially if you're dealing with children, it's already quite confusing for them, the process of being online. If you are giving them sheet music, which I highly suggest just so they get that really nice rounded, or lyric sheet, so they get a piece of paper to hold, you want to make sure they have that in advance. Do remember though that some children do not have access to a printer. I'm actually a person that doesn't have a printer at home. So if you are giving them a piece of paper or a lyric sheet or a sheet of music, how are they going to look at that during the lesson? Are they going to have a split screen? Do they have an iPad? Do they have a phone? Really maybe write instructions for those students so they have access to those documents just like the other children or adults in the singing group. I did teach grade 2 to 4. They were very young, younger than I normally teach. I usually teach around the middle school age. So I was very nervous about doing online, but the kids were absolutely fantastic. When the children entered the classroom, I would all greet them. I would smile. I would make sure that they felt welcome. I would ask them about their day. I was seeing them every day, so sometimes I would ask a question about maybe something they told me about yesterday or a pet. And then once everyone was part of the lesson, I would start a physical stretch. Before we did the physical stretch, I made sure that they all were online, they could hear me, and that I could see them. It's very important when you're dealing with children that you can see them and they're participating. They could be saying they're there with you, have their screen off, and their parents might not know where they are. So you gotta make sure that you can see them. Some children's cameras weren't working, and if that was the case for the whole class, I would check in with their parents at the end of the day. We did a physical stretch. We would stretch our bodies, stretch our necks, stretch our arms, legs, whatever, make it a little bit of a game, and we would do that for 5 minutes. Some of them hadn't done a stretch or anything physical because they have been at home, and this is an online class, so I would start with that. We would do warm-ups and function. Now, I thought this would be really tricky, but it worked really well. Everyone was on mute, And we would start doing humming, warming up, lip trills, all the normal stuff that you would do in a singing class. And then I would do tongue twisters. I found tongue twisters were a really great way of getting them to unmute themselves and practicing, oh, you're going to do it next, then you, and then you, and then you. And then they would unmute, do the activity, and mute again. We got really fast at that, which at first took practice, but they got really good at unmuting themselves really quickly to participate and share what they were singing. Sirens work really well, tongue twisters, lip trills, anything like that to make sure that they understand the concept of what you're singing. I would warm up their head voice, I would warm up their chest voice, and then I would try and link it up in the middle there. Repertoire was less tricky than I thought it would be. I started with the age group I had, we had 2 songs, 2 edited songs. We didn't do the full song. In the first week, we did an Aladdin week, and we did Arabian Nights and A Whole New World with edited scores. They received an edited score, a backing track, and I recorded myself singing over the backing track. That is really important. They need to hear your voice, okay? So make sure that you, even if you're not the best singer in the world, you are doing the recording of the voice on the track they're hearing at home. I'm really a big stickler about that. It shouldn't be the Disney person or Broadway singer or jazz singer. It should be your voice, even if your voice isn't 100% perfect. They get used to your voice and associate that track then with you as the teacher. The first week went really well. So this is how we would do repertoire. We would start by me singing it with the piano or the backing track if you don't play piano, and then they would be on mute and sing along. There is a delay on Zoom, so that worked quite well. Then I would ask each kid to sing 8 bars. I didn't get them to sing the whole track because that would take forever, even with the edited score, but I did 8 bars. When I was playing piano, it worked really well to play the skeleton chord. So I'd play one chord as they sang and just played them very gently underneath, not too loud, not too soft. I found that the delay was fine, which was surprising, and it was almost like accompaniment, especially with young children or anyone really with pitch. Hearing those skeleton chords underneath really helped guide them, and during the evening they would practice the song with the backing track. So when they came to me the next day, we would practice with the skeleton chord under, and it worked very well. I was very surprised. Of course, with any of this online stuff, they can only sing one at a time. There were a number of children who felt very nervous about singing by themselves in front of the group, and I would just sing with them very softly, but give them the illusion that they were singing not just with me, but it went really well. So I'd be like, all right, let's sing, here we go. And I literally sang at that volume. It gave them the belief that they weren't singing alone, so they had a little bit more confidence. I found by the end of the 2 weeks, some kids who were very nervous at first were fine singing by themselves. So we did warm-ups, we did repertoire, usually one song. For the first 3 days we did Arabian Nights, the second 2 day it was a week, so then Thursday, Friday we did A Whole New World. The week after we did In Summer from Frozen, and that actually took up the whole week because we did the whole song. I didn't want to do too much with them. I did have for the first time in forever, but it was just, they weren't there. So we just did 1 week on the same song, and by the end of the week, they were able to sing it by themselves. My goal for the week was to create a video or get the kids to send in a recording of them singing the song. It was so adorable. They were so cute. And what I asked them to do was, they had the piano backing with my voice. They put earphones in, which linked to their iPhone, or Android or whatever that was playing the song. Then a parent was filming them as they listened to the track. So they recorded only their voice, okay? Then they sent me the track or the video. Actually worked really well with the video. They sent me the video of just them singing because they were listening to the accompaniment playing. And then I took those videos, put the piano accompaniment underneath, which I already had, and then spliced it together so we had this really cute video with all their voices. And I could, take cuts so it was little parts of them singing solo and then putting it together where they were singing together. It was just in unison because they were little. I have done this with choirs where they sing, and you'll see them online, heaps of videos where people do amazing group singing. They are much more tricky to put together, and if you're not proficient in those, definitely pay someone. There's so many people looking for work in the music industry right now. You could definitely go and find that. And that was my experience. It was really successful. I was really happy with it. 2 great weeks of teaching music and getting kids engaged in music and singing, building their confidence, even in an online setting, which I was really surprised at. It was so nice to just sing. Yes, we didn't sing as a big group. Sometimes just for fun, I would just say, unmute each other, and we'd all sing and it'd be a hot mess, and it was really fun and made them laugh. But you can still come out with a really successful online program, even if you're doing singing lessons once a week with a group, 2 to 20 if you want. Remember that the more kids or adults that you have in the group, the less solo time they're going to have to share their vocals. But that's okay. If that's what you're doing, that's going to work really well. Anyway, I hope those tips give you things to think about and some experience tips that I've had teaching group lessons online. Good luck with your group online singing classes, guys, and let me know in the comments if you have any other tips you could share with our group. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this video and want access to more free warm-ups, meditations, and other singing-related videos, make sure you subscribe. I am a new channel and any support is appreciated so I can make more material for you guys. Anyway, that's it from me. See you next time.